Greetings to you at Masters Baptist College. It's time to study the Rastafari movement. Yeah, man.
In the late 18th century, under the ministries of powerful preachers, a revival took place in America, known today as the Second Great Awakening. It lasted several decades, and by 1820, Baptist and Methodist congregations saw great increases in membership. The preachers of the time preached indiscriminately to black and white congregations alike, and many black slaves and freemen were saved. Black churches were established, and black men began to enter the ministry as preachers. In addition, the revival caused many slaves to seek freedom. Prior to the revival, the slaves in America were primarily pagan or Muslim, and because of this, slaveholders found what they considered to be some justification to keep them enslaved. But soon, Christian slaveholders found that it was not as easy to justify the enslavement of their brothers and sisters in Christ. Soon, men like the Reverend Moses Ticknall and Reverend Samuel Houston were releasing their slaves and sending them back to their homelands in Africa. Ticknall did so in 1855 and Houston in 1856, both being rich men who could finance the repatriation. The black men and women who were sent back to Africa were sent to the country of Liberia, which had been established as a colony of freed African Americans by an anti-slavery organization called the American Colonization Society. The society was a major player in the Back to Africa movement, which even before the abolition of slavery in America, advocated for all black persons who were freed to be sent back to their own lands. Members of the society included Thomas Jefferson, Francis Scott Key, Abraham Lincoln, James Madison, James Monroe, and Daniel Webster. In 1833, the Jamaican Parliament abolished slavery, and in 1865, the 13th Amendment was ratified in the United States, abolishing slavery there as well. Many black men and women sought to leave the U.S. to be free of racism and to find opportunity for work. Each family that emigrated to Liberia would receive 25 acres of land, and each single adult would receive 10 acres. But it didn't take long for immigrants to discover that their skin color was not enough for them to be considered natives in Liberia. The actual natives saw the African Americans as foreign settlers and resented them, leading most black Americans to reject the Back to Africa movement and instead seek for equal rights in America. Now it is into this complex situation that a man named Marcus Garvey was born in 1887 in the country of Jamaica. Although he was born into a society free from slavery, it was still rife with racism, and as he grew, he began to be influenced by black leaders such as Booker T. Washington and Henry McNeil Turner. He worked many years as an editor of various newspapers in Central America and in London. In 1914, Garvey returned to Jamaica and organized the Universal Negro Improvement Organization. He rallied together supporters, and soon the organization was a powerful force in Jamaica and in America. With his powerful oratory skills, he became a leader in the Back to Africa movement, preaching that black people should have a permanent homeland in Africa. His purpose was to unite black people with Africa and push out the European colonial powers. And he stated, "Look to Africa, where a black king shall be crowned. He shall be your redeemer." This statement by Garvey became the foundation statement of the Rastafari movement. Although he never identified himself with the Rastafari movement, they consider him a prophet, and many see him as a second John the Baptist. In 1930, a man, Haile Selassie, was crowned as the King of Ethiopia. Selassie's full title was, "By the conquering lion of the tribe of Judah, His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I, King of Kings of Ethiopia, elect of God." Jamaicans almost immediately began to see Selassie as the fulfillment of Garvey's prophecy of a black king, and claimed he also fulfilled prophecies from the book of Revelation. The name Haile Selassie itself means power of the Trinity, and soon Jamaicans began to preach the divinity of Selassie as the returned Christ. One of Selassie's names was Rastafari, from which the Rastafari movement took its name. Smoking of cannabis was introduced as a spiritual act, a sacrament that is claimed to clean the body and mind and bring them closer to God. Many of the Rastafari will smoke the cannabis or ganja while reading the Bible. The fact that cannabis is illegal in Jamaica and in most nations symbolizes the persecution of the Rastafari and shows them that opening their mind to truth is something the Babylonian world does not want. The Rastafari use many verses to justify their use of cannabis, such as Genesis 1:29, which says, "And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree, in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed, to you shall it be for meat." They also use Psalm 104:14, "He causeth the grass to grow for the cattle, and herb for the service of man." In 1966, Haile Selassie visited Jamaica, and approximately 100,000 Rastafari from Jamaica came to the airport to see the man they considered to be their Messiah. Many openly smoked marijuana, causing a haze of ganja smoke to drift through the air. Selassie, although he did not make any claims for himself as the Messiah, did not at this time rebuke the Rastafari for their belief in him as the second coming of Jesus Christ, instead honoring the elders with gold medallions. The day Selassie landed in Jamaica, April 21st, is celebrated as Groundation Day, the second holiest day in the Rastafari faith. During Selassie's trip to Jamaica, a woman named Rita Marley saw him and claimed to see nail prints in Selassie's hand and converted to belief in him as the Messiah. She was influential in the conversion of her husband, Bob Marley, who would later become an internationally recognized reggae musician, which greatly spread the Rastafari faith and led to it being recognized worldwide. So what do the Rastafari believe? Well, they believe that Ethiopia is not only a homeland to which they'll one day return, but it is where Zion or paradise will be created. But that white oppression of blacks has held them back, and they consider modern society to be Babylon, entirely corrupt due to materialism and greed. They also believe that they are the original 12 tribes of Israel, and that Jesus himself was a black man. They consider the way that Jesus has been depicted throughout history as a white man to be racist, and an evidence of Babylon suppressing the truth. From Psalm 68:4, Rastafari get their name for God, Jah. The verse says, "Sing unto God, sing praises to his name, extol him that rideth upon the heavens by his name, Jah, and rejoice before him." Many Rastafari maintain a limited diet in accordance with the Jewish dietary laws and abstaining from pork or shellfish. Some are vegetarian, claiming that to touch meat is to touch death. Food approved for Rastafari is called Ital. Most Rastafari also abstain from alcohol, coffee, cigarettes, and drugs other than ganja, saying that all these are tools of Babylon to confuse. Dreadlocks have come to be a major identifier of the Rastafari, although not all Rastafari have them. It is claimed that locks are required by Leviticus 21 verse 5, which says, "They shall not make baldness upon their head, neither shall they shave off the corner of their beard, nor make any cuttings in their flesh." Dreadlocks have come to symbolize the lion's mane of the lion of the tribe of Judah and rebellion against Babylon. The Rastafari flag is green, gold, and red, each colors of importance. They're the colors of the Ethiopian flag. Red represents blood of martyrs, green the vegetation of Ethiopia, and gold the wealth of Africa. Many Rastafari claim that some humans will live forever in their current bodies, a belief termed life ever living. Although the Rastafari accept the Bible, they claim that it is not the whole Bible, but that parts have been taken away or hidden to keep black people oppressed. It is commonly said that the text is only half of the Bible, and that there is another Bible in the heart. Most will claim no need of a church or temple, claiming that their own bodies are the temple of God, so a physical temple is unnecessary. Despite this, there are some temples and tabernacles in areas with large Rastafari populations. The Rastafari hold the position that all men and women deserve rights as equals, and that every person should be treated equally with respect. The movement is strongly Afrocentric in nature, claiming evil society or Babylon has been led and dominated by white men. Many Rastafari learn and know the Amharic language because this was the language of Haile Selassie, and also to identify as Ethiopian. They claim that their original African languages were stolen from them by the slave trade, and that English has been imposed on them by the colonial powers. As a remedy to this, the Rastafari speak a modified vocabulary and dialect known as Lyric, in which words and syllables that are seen as negative are replaced with positive ones. The word overstanding replaces understanding, and livocation replaces dedication. Likewise, the Rastafari reject isms. They do not accept communism or capitalism, Marxism or humanism, saying that they have transcended isms and schisms. Because of this, they especially dislike the term Rastafarianism as a way to refer to the Rastafari movement. When witnessing to a member of the Rastafari, we must get them to look past seeing Haile Selassie as God and instead point them to who Selassie worshipped as God, Jesus Christ. We must recognize that there have been many times where evil things have been done in Christ's name, and point out that they are because people did things without looking to what the Bible said, not because the Bible told them to. Anyone trying to be a witness to the Rastafari must realize that we're not evangelists for Western culture or Americanism, and recognize that we can lead each person to Christ while still allowing them to maintain a cultural identity and cultural goals. Recognize that some missionaries in the past have offended the Rastafari by trying to change their culture and having an ethnocentric viewpoint. Ultimately, we must point the Rastafari not to an earthly Zion or to a leader of Africa, but to a leader of all men, the true King of Kings and Lord of Lords, Jesus Christ.